Welcome back after the break, and welcome to President's House, where we have the opportunity today and the distinct pleasure to interview for the first time exclusively on Altos Her Excellency President Christine Kangaloo as she celebrates the first year of her ascendancy to the office of the President. President Kangaloo, it's great to have you. Welcome to Altos.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Excellent. This is March 20th, marks the first anniversary of your inauguration as President of the Republic. Describe for us in one word how the journey has been for the last year.
May I use my president's prerogative and give you two words?
Of course you can.
Yes. So, challenging, rewarding.
Challenging and rewarding.
Yes, those would be the two words that I would use.
What has made it challenging and what has made it rewarding for you so far?
The challenging aspect came from the change in my life, in our lives, my husband's as well. There are things that we had to adjust to. So, for example, the word spontaneous doesn't arise. You know, we can't just decide that we want to go to the mall, or go to visit friends. Those things have to be planned. So there were adjustments that we had to make. So that's just one example. There are other challenging parts of being the president with respect to the work itself. So, for example, trying to find persons to serve. Persons are very reluctant. You're trying to get different persons to come and serve on different boards.
The commissions.
But they are quite afraid of being in public life and what that entails. So that has been a challenging part of it.
But has your experience in public life, I mean, if you share that with them, has that been any kind of comfort at all?
Yes. No, not at all. I have tried that. I've tried to point out that I have been doing this for quite some time. But you find that given the environment, persons are really reluctant to step up to serve in that public way. So that has been a major challenge for the office.
And that reluctance comes with a lot of the declarations that people would have to make.
That's correct.
In other words, putting your business out in the road, as we say.
Yes.
There is that hesitance.
That's correct. Yeah.
Your Excellency, you spoke of the loss of spontaneity. Does that mean that you no longer get to go to the grocery, you no longer get to do the simple pleasures of life that you're accustomed to?
I'm actually able. Remember, I spoke earlier about being very grateful to our detail. So yes, I get to go to the grocery from time to time and do my
your
rounds
own shopping
and that sort of thing. Yes. And very interestingly, when I last went to the grocery, a woman came up to me and she said, "Do you know that you look like the president of Trinidad and Tobago?" I said, "Really?" Yes. And then it dawned on her. But it was very funny. Yes. So yes, I get to do those things as well.
So that's a challenging part. What has been rewarding for you in this?
Rewarding, and I have to say, I said challenging first because the rewards have been tremendous and outweigh the challenges. It's a privilege to be in this office, to hold this office. My interaction with young people has been tremendously exciting and encouraging, and that aspect of it has really lifted both my husband and me as we go through this stage of our lives.
And would you say this has been the most rewarding part of the job so far?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Being with the children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another highlight for me of the last year was having the national awards return to President's House. That was also a big undertaking to get it to be hosted here again, because in the past they used to be at President's House. So that was something that I was really pleased with during the first year.
So there are lots of people who believe that the president has a lot more authority than she has. So you couldn't just snap your fingers and let it come back here.
No, the decision to have it here was easy, but of course, you had to make adjustments to the number of persons who could be invited, But ultimately, I think we were all very pleased with the reception that we got from the awardees coming to President's House. I think it made it a lot more significant for them, the entire occasion. And we were happy that we achieved that.
And
that we got it
happy
back
to
in.
host
Yes.
the National Awards.
Yeah. And that, of course, was tying in to the fact we wanted the President's House to be accessible.
Right, the accessibility.
So it tied in,
Everything,
yeah.
yes. Now, you would have served in this office previously. You'd have acted on occasion.
Yes.
As the president, in your capacity as Senate president, you'd have acted. But now you are the president. How has that transition been for you from being just an acting appointment to now being every day waking up and realizing, hey, I am the president?
So having acted as president on a few occasions, that did help because there were certain logistics that you immediately understood.
Yes.
And I knew the staff, I knew the personnel, I knew what to expect as I walked into the office, what would be some of the responsibilities. But as the person who holds the office, it's a completely different thing in that where you want to take the presidency, the goals that I have for the presidency, for that office, those lie with me. And therefore, shaping it, that the acting could not have prepared me for this. So yes, I'm really grateful that I did act so that I knew some of it. But of course, as the president, you then have to really set the goals of your presidency. You have to make appointments that I didn't have to do before in that sense. So the responsibility lies with you as the president.
But as you mentioned, the goals of the presidency and shaping that, defining the presidency as your own, putting your footprint on the presidential footprint, so to speak. What are some of the goals you have for the president, for the office of the president? What are some of those goals you have?
So what I had laid out in my address for my inauguration, that has been like my roadmap.
Okay.
So I talked about the office of the president being more accessible. I talked about young people and the focus on young people. I talked about reviewing the protocols that accompany the office and try to make sure that the protocols don't make the office inaccessible, the president inaccessible to persons, that the protocols serve the office. So all of that was laid out in that speech, and that's exactly what I've been trying to focus on as we move forward.
Where do you get the strength to do this?
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the challenge of being the president. I love the interaction with not just the young people. I love the interaction as I move about the country. The interactions that I get with citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, I have the strength of my husband. He is my support. I have the strength of my family, my friends, and needless to say, I have my faith. So all of that really work in tandem to give me that strength.
And tell us, how has your faith, been that level of support for you? How has your faith helped you to define your presidency thus far?
So my faith is a part of me.
Good.
So it doesn't just help me with being president. It's me. It's who I am. It's to get like an IT application. It's like the operating system in my life. So I try on a daily basis to always practice my faith, to show the values, to practice the values of my faith, to be honest, to be kind, to be forgiving, so that's what I do. And that's how I am able to work through all that faces me on a day-to-day basis.
Because in your inaugural address, you thanked the community at St. Anne's RC
Yes.
for their support.
That's correct.
How is that? Are you still able to go to Mass on a regular basis, to do those things?
Not as, and I'm hoping Father Allen is not looking at this, not as regularly as I would like, but we still consider ourselves a part of that community, and they've been very kind and supportive for a number of years, but even more so for the last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's always good to have the faith community, in your corner,
That's correct.
so to speak.
Yes.
But it's not just the faith. You've had some your story itself, a survivor, a cancer survivor. You lost your one of your brothers, Justice Kangaloo. And, how have those events, your faith plus your own story, how have those helped to define who is President, Kangaloo and your presidency?
So I actually lost another sibling as well. My only sister, I lost as well. Mm-hmm. And I was treated for cancer of the breast. Mm-hmm. I was healed physically, mm-hmm. but any cancer survivor will tell you there's an emotional healing that has to come as mm-hmm. well. And there was emotional healing that had to come after the deaths of my siblings. I've lost very good friends to cancer as well. Mm-hmm. So this healing that I'm talking about continues. Mm-hmm. It's an ongoing process, and I treat with that. I have to deal with that because cancer, mm-hmm. loss of your friends, and there are certain things you lose. Mm-hmm. What cancer in and of itself brought loss to me. Mm-hmm. So it is dealing with that. Mm-hmm. But I will also say that those experiences have created in me an empathy mm-hmm. that also is something that I feel my empathy for human beings, mm-hmm. Not just human beings who have cancer or who have lost their loved ones, but my empathy helps me to identify with people, mm-hmm. identify the brokenness mm-hmm. in all of us as human beings. Mm-hmm. And so those experiences have taught me that, mm-hmm. and they help me in a sense to, at times, I'm called upon to comfort people mm-hmm. who go through similar situations.
Yes. Yeah. And it is, I think that's what the country is seeing in the presidency at this point in time. Very empathetic, a very caring, president, someone who reaches out, very comfortable, with children, but very comfortable with brokenness as well, simply because you have experience. So in a very real sense, Your Excellency, a wounded healer. Well, do you see yourself in that way?
Well, I know that I'm wounded. We all are. Mm-hmm. And I just try to do my part to just help in whatever way I can. Yeah.
And that's excellent. That's what we call to do. One of the goals you have is that of, and you mentioned it in your inaugural address, is that of demystifying the presidency in terms of the protocols, in terms of access. People, we see pictures on a daily basis, almost daily basis, of people walking through President's house.
Yes.
How has that demystification process been going for you?
Well, it's going well, I think. Mm-hmm. We have tours of the President's house. Those tours have been ramped up. So we have more tours going on now. We have tours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Children from different schools all over the country come for those tours where they learn about the history mm-hmm. of President's house. They learn about different protocols with the President, the mm-hmm. office of the President. We also offer the tours not just to school children. So we have adults who request tours as well, and they are given the tours. So that's one aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Then His Excellency and I, my husband and I, have been going to schools. Mm-hmm. Just last week, we went to 4 schools we visited. Mm-hmm. And we talk about the role of the President. Okay. We talk about the presidency with the school children. In fact, after our visit last week, Wednesday, we toured, one of the schools was Presal Secondary School. We spoke to 5 Form 1 classes. And we spoke about the role of the president, the history of the presidency. And then poor students, they got some homework. So they're supposed to send in, via their teachers, they're supposed to send in for us to look at what they have learned about the presidency. So that is taking root as well, that drive to go out and talk to young people about the presidency. I don't know if you remember, in my inauguration speech, I also spoke about Standard Force Sing from San Fernando Girls Primary School. And they came to visit us.
Immediately after.
Right, yes. And they had a board game that they had done. They made up this board game which set out all the roles and functions of the president. So I think the initiative to demystify is taking root, and we have other initiatives that are in the pipeline. We want to have secondary schools involved in debates. So I think it's going well. I'm really pleased with the progress.
And you spoke of the demystification,
yeah.
But that's outside. What about in terms of your own staff here?
Yes.
How have they responded to you as president? How have they responded to this new role that they play in terms of their being, here to serve the president?
They've been outstanding. So one of the high points of last year, of the first year, was the children's party that we hosted. It was, the staff just helped with everything for that children's party, and the joy that the staff, the joy on their faces was only outdone by the joy of the children. Right. But it really was gratifying to me to see how the staff really got into that children's party.
What do you think is the biggest myth surrounding the presidency?
I think people think that the president has more authority in certain areas. Okay. So young students, for example, mix up the role of the president with that of the prime minister. So those are some of the main issues that we are faced with.
And that's a demystification.
Yes.
That we're talking about.
Yeah. And that's why when we go out to the schools, the children sometimes ask questions. They can't differentiate between the
office of the president,
and the office of the prime minister. So in going out to the schools and chatting with the students, that is something that we're trying to, of course, bring to their attention. And they seem to be, well, when I get the homework that I gave them, I'll see.
And do you get people telling you that they want your job?
Yes. Of course. The children are also, they are in awe when the president comes, because they see what will come with the president. So they see the security, and they think it's a lot, it's very glamorous. Yeah.
But you advise them otherwise?
Well, I just tell them to work hard, and if this is something, they just have to work hard and focus on their education and do their very best. Whatever happens, happens. Yes. Yeah.
In terms of the visits to the schools, can you say how many schools you visited so far?
We've visited 4 and 3, 7. Seven schools.
Seven schools so far. How does one go about making an application for a tour to President's House, of President's House?
The school writes to the Office of the President, and we respond immediately. They simply say they want to have a tour. Most schools will suggest a date, but we are literally booked up now, so we always get back in touch and arrange the tours for different dates. For different we actually had a tour last week of a school from Guyana. Yes, they were here, these Guyanese students, and they wanted to, and we facilitated a tour of President's House as well.
So what was their impression of President's
From
House?
what I heard, I couldn't be here, unfortunately, but from what I heard, they really enjoyed the tour, and they asked a lot of questions. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going well.
It's going well.
Yeah.
Your Excellency, this is a good time for us to take a short break.
Sure.
And when we come back after the break, we'll talk a little bit more with Her Excellency about the demystification process and her speech about the Panyards and the discipline in the Panyards and schools in the Panyards. So let's take a short break and we come right back.
Altos, from the Latin altus, meaning high. Every Friday night we feature the top news items hot off the press. We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
Welcome back. We're at President's House speaking today exclusively with President Christine Kangaloo. It's the first year of her inauguration into the office of the President. And we're having a wonderful conversation so far. President Kangaloo, you spoke earlier, just to go back a little bit, you spoke earlier about the influence of what the loss of your brother and the loss of your sister. And please accept our condolences. But it really speaks, what it said to us was how much family means to you and how much family has contributed to defining and making the person you are.
Yes.
Our country today, family, the disintegration of the family is evident around us. Can you speak a little more about how your family has impacted your own growth, your own development to the point of where you are today?
Well, I consider myself privileged that my family, that we remained such a strong unit. And we've always been a tight unit. So my brothers, when we lost my sister, my brothers rallied around me to make sure that that all would be well with me.
Yes.
They became extra protective of me. My mother, my father has passed away.
Yes.
So my mother, who will be 96 this month,
Wow.
is a very, very strong influence in my life. To this day, I can be president, but I'm her daughter. So the buffs can still come. And so the family unit has been a strong source of support for me throughout. Yeah.
Good.
And I really, families may not have the kind of unit that I had,
Yes.
but family can be. I remember speaking at a graduation where I was encouraging the young children, to their teachers, family, you can have a network of support. You may not have the traditional family, but you may have a network of support around you, and that's important for our young people, to have adults that they can trust and that they can go to for that kind of support and encouragement.
And
Yeah.
one of the things you indicated in terms of your own desire for the presidency is really to encourage that kind of mentorship as well for young people. One of the things that stuck out in your inaugural address was that issue of developing the Panyard model for discipline amongst our youth, and in fact how has that been going? Did you visit any Panyards for Carnival? I'm not going to ask you what is your favorite band or who's your favorite band.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what about the Panyard that strikes you as being something that we could really, really put some time and effort into?
Well, there's enough literature on it. I mean, and then there's the anecdotal evidence that the Panyard, the structure of the Panyard, the discipline, the way young people they come to it and they're focused on what they're doing. I mean, everyone talks about that Panyard model, the concept of it, as something that should be shown in all our communities for our young people to be a part of that. Because we can't deny that our country, our young people need to hold on and to be focused and disciplined about something. And we've heard about the Panyard model. So His Excellency and I, because I don't know if you remember that part of the speech where he was tasked, my husband was tasked with the responsibility for all the cultural and artistic endeavors, and he has been extremely supportive. So we have been meeting with stakeholders, and very soon, I don't want to talk about it yet, but very soon we'll be able to showcase that Panyard model. And we want to showcase that Panyard model for it to be emulated in all the communities in Trinidad and Tobago and supported to give our young people that support. Yes.
The Panyard model, some people, the whole question of pan and pan in schools, for instance, is not everybody's cup of tea, so to speak. Yeah? In terms of what you envisage for this discipline, the discipline, the model, pan in schools, would you like to see a steel pan ensemble in every school in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, let me just say, before I answer that, and I want to say that apart from talking about the Panyard model, there has been advocacy on my part for pan itself.
So pan itself.
Pan as a national instrument. So I don't know if you remember in my first address to Parliament, that was one of the issues that I raised for the steel pan to be declared our national instrument. Apart from that, the advocacy extends, for example, to the fact that there's a fanfare that greets me for certain official functions. And for the International Steel Pan Day last year, we incorporated pan into that fanfare. So there's a general advocacy for pan that I'm going to continue with.
Excellent.
We actually hosted our first concert for Mother's Day, BP Renegades, in collaboration with Office of the President, and we had a wonderful Mother's Day concert last year. So all of that is to, of course, highlight and advocate for our national instrument.
And as President, you will push for, as you did in the Parliament, you would like to see the steel pan declared instrument of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. I think it's an important and very significant step that has to be taken because the steel pan belongs to Trinidad and Tobago.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Over the course of the carnival just gone, you saw lots of younger people play, in the steel bands, and in fact, like most things, you saw a lot of young women, taking over the steel pan, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that in terms of that female, component almost taking over the steel pan now, and the younger people getting involved in the pan?
I'm happy on both counts. For young people to be involved in pan, for there to be female representation as well, I think it is wonderful, and it fills me with satisfaction.
One of the areas you spoke of in terms of the demystification is that ability of the population to hold the president to account. How do we do that? How is that going? Where do you see that manifesting in time to come?
Well, I also spoke about the fact that it would start with our primary school children, and that's exactly what, in my outreach, in visiting the schools, that's what we're trying to accomplish, to talk to them, to give them a sense of what the presidency is about, what are the differences between the authority of a president and the authority of a prime minister, a little bit about the history of the presidency in Trinidad and Tobago. So that is the thrust in our outreach to all the different schools.
You are the second female president. You succeeded, Her Excellency President Paula May Weeks. We've just celebrated International Women's Day. Do you see yourself and the role you play now as being a champion for, feminist rights and for women in society, the growth, the development, the advancement of women in the Trinidad and Tobago society now?
The fact that Trinidad and Tobago has a second female president is outstanding in my view, in the sense that it means that there's no position that a female cannot aspire to in Trinidad and Tobago. To me, it's even more powerful that I'm the second president. It's a quick succession. So you had the first female president, and then you have the second female president. So to me, it's quite significant, and it just shows, and it is clear that there is no position in Trinidad and Tobago that a female cannot occupy. And we see females occupying so many positions in financial institutions. So the sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit for
Yes.
women. The areas that you spoke of in your inaugural address spoke to the modernizing of the protocols that govern, how citizens relate with the office of the president. What are some of those protocols that you think need modernization, and how have you gone about modernizing these protocols?
So when I spoke about that, it was because I was concerned that the protocols, which are to serve the office of the president, could have the unintended effect of making the president inaccessible, aloof from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It has been challenging to address the protocols issue because there has to be a balance. I mean, the protocols are there to, of course, ensure that there's the dignity and respect for the office of the president, that they will always be there. So you have to balance, you always have to keep that in mind. I must say that when we go out, when my husband and I go to functions and that sort of thing, we are now relating, moving around, trying to meet as many persons as we can. And my detail, our security detail, they've been very good about it. Understanding our need to do this. And we think that in a way that's making us and making the presidency more accessible to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a work in progress, but I think that we have made some significant strides in addressing how people relate to the office of the president.
And just as there's a myth and the mystery surrounding the presidency, you've moved in, you're the first president in a very long time to actually live on President's House. Are there any ghosts running around the place? No?
No.
No, there are no ghosts running around the place. How has that
Actually,
part...
now though you've put that in my head, and but no, so far no.
But how has that part of the presidency, moving into this structure that is so rich in history, how has that been for you, that readjustment in terms of, have you redesigned for yourself?
Initially, it was difficult. I knew from before that we would be moving. We had made that decision to move into the residence. There was nothing to hold us back from doing that. But it was an emotional thing. I was leaving my home, what I consider my home, my space. My husband and I, this was the home that we built up. And so the emotional component of that decision and actually doing it, and it took a toll. But having moved here, it was the right decision.
Yes.
It's a lovely, lovely, lovely residence. And it's, as you say, it's full of history, and we feel privileged to be part of it. And everyone has been very kind to us to make sure that all our needs are met. So it has been, as I say, a little roller coaster, because I do miss my home at times, but it was the right decision, and we've settled in to the President's House.
And you're president, but you're also wife and
That's
homemaker.
correct. Yes.
What have you done here to make it your home?
Well, I've added my touches to the residence, to our space, and that sort of thing. I cook.
You cook?
Yes, I still take time to cook, to bake, and that sort of thing, because that's my also
That's
stress
therapy,
relievers. And so I've been doing that, and
That's good, because moving into the space, there's loss on one hand, but certainly making this your own has
That's
been
correct.
that is its own therapy.
Yeah, and then from time to time we go back to our home and spend some time there as well. So there's a balance.
Does the first gentleman join you in the cooking and the baking?
No, but he's a good guinea pig. Yeah. for whenever, recipes are being tried. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent guinea pig. Yeah.
Madam President, as we come to the close of the interview, there are a couple of things that, as a country, we talk about, the beauty of the country, the culture, the diversity of the country. Do you think that we're doing enough to harness that as a country? And if not, what else can we do?
I think there's always more to be done. I mean, nothing is perfect. But you ask that question, and we just look at what Ashley achieved over the weekend.
Yes.
And, a remarkable example of our culture and our diversity, and how it, the culture, the diversity were all well received, So all that I can say about that, we are such a wonderful country, a rich country when it comes to culture and diversity. I mean, look, we are out of Carnival, we're into Lent. The Hindus just celebrated Shivratri. We are now into the period of Ramadan as well. And everyone is respecting the different religions and participating as well. So while there can always be more, my take on it is that we all do our best to represent. And that's all we can do.
And later this month, we have the celebration of the Shouter Baptist Liberation Day as well.
Yeah.
So that's coming together.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We talk about sport tourism, we talk about business tourism. Is there something that we can do to showcase to the world that this is who we are and this is a place where people can come to?
Well, I think we're doing it. And what I'm saying is, every time we step out, we go to other countries, what we must do is represent Trinidad and Tobago, and represent well. And, to me, our country really has so much to offer in terms of that diversity and the beauty and the traditions that we celebrate. Everybody, I'm sure more can be done, but I think that a lot has been done as well. I think we're recognized for that already.
Madam President, final words in terms of to women, as a woman, a cancer survivor, female president, second in succession, a word to the women of Trinidad and Tobago.
What I said before, that there is no barrier. There's nothing that you can say is unattainable, but it requires hard work, it requires focus, it requires discipline, and just do your best. When I talk to young people, I say to them, do your best, don't worry about the outcomes. Because when I was their age, I told them, because someone asked me that last week when we went to the schools, did you want to be president? Go talk to my teachers, and they would tell you they would never have conceived that the talkative Christine Kangaloo would be president of the country. But education was very important to me, and I worked hard at it. And it's discipline, it's work, it's focus. And you never know where that will take you. But for the young people, work hard, just do your best, and don't worry about the outcomes.
And on this anniversary, your first anniversary as president, what do you say to the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
The same thing, that work hard, do your best. If every citizen were to put their best foot forward. We have challenges in this country, but we are a beautiful, beautiful place, people, and hugely talented. So if we could all just try to do our best on a daily basis, and I need to tell Trinidad and Tobago, just the citizens, to love your country. There's no other place like it. Be patriotic and love your country. Understand that you have challenges. Be upset about the challenges. But don't bad talk your country. Love it. You live here. And whatever you do, continue to want to live in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a beautiful place.
So like our road march said, there's no place like home.
Correct. Yes.
President Kangaroo, we really want to thank you for spending this time with us on Altos. It's been an absolute pleasure being here at President's House and conversing with you.
Thank you
and we look
very
forward to seeing you again and chatting with you again on another occasion, perhaps at another anniversary.
Sure. But thank you very much. And thank you to your team as well.
Very well.
Thank you.